What's up, you guys? Back for the next installment. It's your boy Shock. Today, back at you with the My Hero Academia tutorial video. Today, we're going to teach you how to play My Hero Academia, the collectible card game from soup to nuts. Everything you need to know. What are the character cards? What are the actions? How do I play a foundation? How do I launch an attack? How do I defend against an attack? What is Universus? All of it we're going to answer here today. Without further ado, let's get into it. Now, the first thing I want to stress with the Universus card game is this game was invented so that multiple card games could play against each other. So My Hero Academia is not the only card game that uses these rules. It is one of them. As you see, the backs do have Universus on them. However, Mortal Kombat also uses the Universus card game system. Street Fighter also uses this system. So we are stepping into a card game that has been alive and well for a decade already. So there will be a My Hero Academia only format, which only has up My Hero cards, and it has different rules as well. However, there is a format that accepts all cards from every card game that uses the Universus system. I will be talking about the My Hero Academia only format, which only has one set of cards out so far. We'll be going through those rules. So now let's talk about what kinds of cards are there in the My Hero card game. Now there are 5 kinds of cards. They are character cards, attacks, foundations, assets, and actions. Okay, so we're gonna go through them one by one. I've separated them into 3 different categories just to make them a little bit easier to think about. Now, first up is the character card. Character is what your deck is based around. Your character card will start the game in play in your staging area. Don't worry about that. You'll find out where the staging area is in a second. Now, your character will dictate how much life you have and your starting hand size. As you'll see here on the left, there's a green icon with cards and a number on it. This is your starting hand size. Now, it's the starting hand size of every turn, not just the start of the game. So at the start of every turn, you will draw until you have that many cards in your hand at least. Now you also have your starting life pool. Different characters have different life pools. Tokoyami has as little as 20, and Nomu has as much as 35. So you'll have to balance that when you're in your deck construction. Also, pretty much the only way to win a game is to reduce your opponent's health to 0. If you do run out of cards in your deck, you must complete what's called a cycle. So you will take your discard pile, shuffle it, and place it into your deck area. Then you will remove the top 10 cards from your deck from the game. At that point, you will continue whatever effect needed you to draw or use cards from the top of your deck. Now, a lot of this stuff I'm going to leave for a later card. However, I do want to point out, you know it's a character because they'll have this character icon on the right hand side. It'll also tell you a Roman numeral. Here we have All Might 1. So this is the first version of All Might. All Might has 4 different versions to this point in the game. Now, we also have the resource icons on the left. Now, if you've played other card games, this is like Dark, Light, Warrior, Imp, things like that. This tells me what kind of card it is. Now, there is a deck building rule. All cards in your deck must share one resource icon. So if I want to make an All Might, all of All Might's cards have all 3 of these icons. However, other characters do not. So my entire deck has to have the All symbol, which is this red dot. They have to have the Earth symbol, which is the mountain, or the Good symbol, which is the halo. You have to choose one, and everything must share that icon. Now, the next type of card we have are attacks. This is how you're going to be able to attack your opponent, and one of the ways you're going to be able to defend against your opponent's attacks. So let's say I play Detroit Smash. Now we have these 2 icons on the right here. The top icon is the speed of the attack, and also in the same icon it's an orange icon that's pointing in the middle of these 3 arrows. Now this is a mid attack. You could also, if the icon was red and pointing up, it would be a high attack. If it was yellow and pointing down, it would be a low attack. Now, I'm attacking with a 6 speed mid, and the icon below that's yellow it says that this attack is doing 6 damage. Now, your opponent can block, and if they do block, they'll reduce the amount of damage they take. However, the difficulty of the block is going to be determined by the speed of this attack and the difficulty of the card they choose to block with. We're going to get into blocking later. However, just know that this is the way you're going to deal damage to your opponent using attacks. Now, we've talked about how to deal damage to your opponent. Let's talk about the support. Basically, your spell or traps if you're coming from Yu-Gi-Oh!, extra cards if you're coming from Dragon Ball Super. Now, we have 3 different kinds. We have foundations, we have assets, and we have actions. Now, I'm going to be explaining some things. They might not completely make sense, but I'm going to have a little bit of a demo later in the video to show you exactly what I mean. Now, foundations. You play a foundation from your hand. You're going to check to see if it works. I'm going to show you how to check a little bit later. If it is successful and you play this card, it stays on the field in your card pool until the end of the turn. At the end of the turn, all of your foundations that you've played successfully will go to your stage. You'll see the stage in just a second. You'll accumulate a lot of foundations in your stage. Your foundations are going to be your spells and traps. None of them are going to be face down. They're all going to be face up, public knowledge for you and your opponent to see. And you're going to be able to respond to any multitude of things your opponent does with your foundations. Now, the next kind of card we have are assets. Assets will have a green border around them that will say asset on the right hand side there and have a little gear icon. There are exactly like foundations in almost every way. Now, there's one big difference when you want to pass a check, which I'll get to in a bit. But just remember, if you want to pass a check, you can use your foundations to help you pass a check, but you cannot use your in-play assets. However, assets will stay on the field. You'll be able to use their effect from time to time. They'll be face up. However, you cannot use them to pass checks. The last kind of card is an action. Now, an action is very different. You will play an action from your hand. The effect will have to activate from your hand. You'll check to see if you can play the card. If the card is successful, then you can play it. It will go into your card pool, so it'll go to the field. However, at the end of the turn, the action will go to the discard pile. It will not stay on the field. So you can think of foundations and assets like continuous spells or trap cards. They stay out there, or field spells. However, an asset is like a normal spell. Once you play it, it does its thing, and when it's time to go to the next place it's going to go is the discard pile. Now, before I can get into exactly how to pass checks, play cards, and win the game and all the glory, we're going to get a little bit into what the game layout looks like, okay? So this is the mats that they were giving out to kind of teach new players how to play the game. Now, you do start with your character card played in your stage. This is a part of the stage area. It's here on the left. All this that's inside, that's below the card pool to the left of the discard and deck areas, this is your stage. This is where everything you build is going to live. This is where all of your cards are going to stay that aren't actively in your card pool. Now, your card pool is going to be up at the top of the mat. The card pool is where you're playing. When you play a card, it goes into the card pool. It doesn't matter what card you play. It usually, unless an effect says otherwise, it always goes into the card pool. Now, these numbers right up here, +1, +2, +3. So when you play a card, there's something called progressive difficulty. We're going to go a little bit more into that in a second. But basically what it means is when you play a card, the difficulty number is at the top of the card, at the top left corner. If you have played one card before this turn, Now you have to add 1 to that number to get the card's new difficulty. And if you've played 2 cards before that turn, you have to add 2. So it gets harder and harder to play cards as you go along in the turn, unless you're removing cards from your card pool. You'll be getting through a lot of cards. You'll be throwing a lot of cards away in the discard pile. That'll be right here, and your deck will be right there. That's really all you need to know about the layout of the game mat. Okay, so that was kind of a quick and dirty explanation of how we play this game. So let's just go through a couple of turns and we'll get into how do I play really. I think the best way to do it is to learn by doing. So first of all, let's look at our leader. We have Tokoyami here. Now he has a hand size of 7, so we're going to start by drawing 7 cards. Now, if you've came from many other card games, pretty much everyone but Yu-Gi-Oh, you know about the mulligan system. Universus has it as well. You can mulligan as many cards as you want from your hand at the beginning of the game. I think this is a pretty good hand, but let's pretend I'm going first and I don't want any attacks because I cannot attack turn 1. So I'm going to put my attacks back. I'm going to shuffle. And I'm going to draw 2 cards. Okay, so now I have my starting hand and I have 20 life. We start the game by entering the ready phase. Now the first step of the ready phase is any cards that are horizontal or committed as we call them, we turn them vertical and we put them in the ready state. Cards that are vertical are ready, cards that are horizontal are committed. We go next into the review step. Now every player, every turn can discard 1 card before they draw. So if I didn't want one of these cards, I could just discard it. So I don't really want to have 3 cool students in my hand, even though I love that card. So I discard it. Next I go to the draw step and I can draw up to my hand size, which is 7. So I can draw another card. Now, I have my starting hand and I'm done with the ready phase. So now I go forward to the combat phase. The combat phase isn't just about combat. It's where we play all the cards that we can play this turn. It's pretty much the entire turn. Now, turn 1 is usually about foundations. You want to get as many foundations into your stage as possible. So I'm going to start out with Cool Student. Now I play it by putting it into my card pool. Now, I've played Cool Student. Let's see if it actually is successful. I don't know if the card is successful yet. Up top, you have a yellow and orange number. For Cool Student, the number is 2. That is your difficulty. That is the number that you need to pass to actually play the card. So what happens is I put Cool Student onto the card pool. You take the top card of your deck, you flip it over, you put it into your discard pile. Use the blue number at the bottom. The blue number at the bottom is a 3. Okay, so I pass a 3, is what we say. Now the 3 is at least 2. So since it's bigger than 2 or equal, then I pass the check. If this number was a 2, I would pass. If this number was a 1, I would fail. Now, if you fail a check, if you try to play a card and you fail, your turn goes to the end phase. Okay, so it is very important that you are careful when deciding which cards to play because your turn can end very quickly. So I play Cool Student and it is successful. So what do I do now? Well, Cool Student is a foundation. It can't do anything as long as it's in the card pool. These 2 effects that it has only work after it is moved to the stage. Your foundations only work when they are readied and in the stage area. I'm free to play more cards though, so I will play Heroic Lineage. Now that's a 2. Now we have progressive difficulty. So when you play another card, you have to say, okay, it's a 2 plus the number of cards that are already in the card pool. So I usually just count down the row. So I say 2, 3. So I need a 3 to pass Heroic Lineage. And I pass a 3. So this card is successful. Now, I want to play Irrefutable Force of Nature because I've never played it before. This card is a 2, 3, 4. So the difficulty of Irrefutable Force of Nature is a 4. And I pass a 5. 5, just to make sure you can see that. So this card is successful as well. Now, you can always just stop here and you don't have to play any other cards. However, I don't see the harm in playing another cool student. Now, this is getting pretty difficult for this card to actually play. I need a 2, 3, 4, 5. I need a 5 to pass this. And there's a lot of cards in my deck that are not. But, I pass with a 5. Now, I know that I don't have a 6 in my deck to pass if I want to play another card. However, there is another way I can pass a check without checking a 6. So I'm going to try to play Irrefutable Force of Nature. Okay, so it's a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is a 6 difficulty. Let's see if I can get at least a 5. I do check a 5, right? But that's not enough. I needed to check a 6, right? So how do I increase my check to pass this card and make Irrefutable Force of Nature successful? Well, if you have a foundation in your staging area, you can commit that card and you can add one to pass a check. Or you can commit your character. So I checked a 5, I added 1 for my character, so I checked a 6. So this is successful. So now I'll end my turn. I'll go from the combat phase to the end phase. And just for the people out there who are judges or really specific about things, what happens is I played a card, I pass priority to my opponent, or my rival as we call it in My Hero. My rival has the option to play a card or pass priority back. Once both players pass priority consecutively, we end that stage of where we are. So right now we're in the combat phase. I pass priority, he or she passes back, and now we end the combat phase. So we go to the end phase. Now, every one of my foundations was successful. So if a foundation is successful when you play it, it goes from the card pool down into your stage. And you just bring them all down one by one. Usually you're supposed to go left to right, but unless there's a card effect that makes it matter, you can just pull them all down at the same time. Now that I've cleared my card pool, my turn is over and it is my opponent's turn, and they will go through the same steps. So I thought about it, and I think this game will be a little bit more instructive if we actually had an opponent. So I loaded up the same deck, and we're gonna play in the mirror. The mirror match, for those of you who don't know what that means, is just playing against the same deck that you're running. Now, the second player has his first hand. He has watched the first player go through his turn, and now it will start his. Now the second player can attack, and let's get into it. Why not? So first we're gonna play, I would like to play a Dark Shadow Slash. Now this might not be the best strategic move, however, we're just gonna play an attack. Now this attack has 4 difficulty, so we are gonna have to pass a 4, and we pass a 5. So this was successful. If we passed a 3, we might be in a little bit of trouble. We'd have to commit our leader, things like that. But we pass a 4. Now, while this attack is in the card pool as it is right now, at this point, you can use this attack's enhance effects. You cannot use this attack's enhance effects when this card is not the current attack. So these effects, it's either now or never. Now, I've played the card. I can use the enhance. If your character is committed, this card gets +2 damage, which my character is not committed, so I cannot use that effect. And this card gets +1 speed for each ally in your card pool. I will use that effect because Dark Shadow Slash is an ally, so he can get +1 speed. Now I tell my opponent I want to activate that effect. They say I have nothing against that. go ahead. So this attack now has 2 speed in the mid-range and 4 damage. Now let's see how my opponent can deal with this attack. Now I have to defend this attack. The attack has 2 speed, 4 damage. Now, while we're not going to use any enhances, so when we pass our enhance step, we move to the block step. We have to decide if we can block the attack. We have to choose our blocker and play it to the card pool, and then we'll see what happens when we actually block. And we see if the block is successful. So we're going to play with our Dark Shadow Slash to block. Now the reason we're doing that is because it has a block modifier of 2 difficulty, and it is in the mid-range. The plus just denotes what area is being blocked. So the plus doesn't actually mean much. So we're blocking the mid-range. This attack that's being launched at us is coming in the mid-range. So we're blocking the same zone that's being attacked. You do have to take note of what zone is being attacked. So there's a rule. If you block the same zone and your block is successful, then you will take 0 damage from the attack. If you block an adjacent zone, meaning since this is a mid attack, if I would have blocked high or low, then my block was successful, then I would take half damage rounded up. If the attack was a high attack and I blocked low, that is not adjacent. If the attack was a low attack and I blocked high, that is not adjacent. I would take the full damage from the attack, whether the block was successful or not. Okay, now I'm trying to block. Now I have to figure out how difficult is it going to be for me to block this attack. What you do is you take the block modifier, which is going to be 2, and then I have to add it to the speed of this attack. Now remember, Dark Shadow Slash increased his speed by 1, so this is a 2 speed attack. So I have to check a 2 plus 2, I have to check a 4 to successfully block this attack. And I check a 5. So I successfully block the same zone. This means that this attack has been completely blocked. I leave this card in the card pool. My opponent leaves their card in the card pool as well, and we continue the turn. My attack was blocked, so it's at the end of the turn, the attack is going to go to the discard pile. If the attack was successful, it would go to my momentum. I would turn it upside down and put it underneath my leader, like that, if the attack was successful. However, it wasn't, so for now, it'll stay here in the card pool, and at the end of the turn, it'll go to the discard pile. Momentum is used with a lot of different effects to really ramp up and end your opponent with a really big crushing blow. So you want to store up as much momentum as possible. You want your attacks to at least partially get through. If you block a different zone than your opponent attacked, say I would have attacked mid and they blocked high, I would have done half damage and I would have put my attack in the momentum at the end of the turn. Okay, so I need to continue my turn. I'm gonna play Summon Dark Shadow, which is the lifeblood of this deck. I have 2, 3. I need to check a 3. And I get a 3. So this card is successful. When I play it, the enhance on an action comes out as you play the card. It says your next check to play a card this turn gets +3, commit your character. So I will commit Tokoyami, and now I can use his effects as well. So now that I have 3 difficulty easier to play my next card, I'm gonna go all out and play the most difficult card in my hand because it's gonna be easier to play that card. I'm gonna play Dark Shadow Talon. Since it has a 4 difficulty, I'm gonna have to check a 1 in order to play it because, 4, 5, 6 difficulty. I'll have to check a 3 in order to play it, thanks to Summon Dark Shadow's effect. So all I need is a 3. I think my lowest in my deck is a 3, and I check a 5. So now I can play this effect, I can play this attack, and I can attack my opponent. I also get increased at speed and damage from Summon Dark Shadow, which has a continuous effect. I don't even have to activate it. I don't have to call it out. It just automatically is used. It says while this card is in your card pool, your attacks get +1 speed and +1 damage. So that puts Dark Shadow Talon up to 5 speed and 5 damage. Now since I played the attack, it's my enhance first. So I can choose to enhance however I want. I could say, okay, my leader, my character card has an enhance, the second one that says this attack gets +1 or -1 damage, is your choice, only playable while committed. Well, now I've committed my character card thanks to Summon Dark Shadow, and I'll play this effect, putting Dark Shadow Talon up to 5 speed and 6 damage with those two cards working in tandem. Now that I've played an enhance, my opponent mandatorily has the opportunity to respond with its own enhance. My opponent looks around and sees that, oh, you're using your character, Tokoyami, to get +1 damage, I'll use mine as well. And he says, I'll use him to give you -1 damage. So the attack goes down to 5 damage, 5 speed. Now, we don't have any more enhances that can really do anything, so I'm going to pass my enhanced step and pass it back to my opponent. My opponent doesn't have any enhances that'll affect this attack, so he will also pass his enhanced step, and that puts us into the block step. So in the block step, your opponent has to say, okay, do I block or not? Now they only have one card they can block with. You cannot block with your foundations that are in play. You have to block with cards in your hand or effects that allow you to block from other zones if that exists. But for right now, it's only cards in your hand. So you can block with Flying Thruster Kick, which is a mid block. Now, this is a mid block and this is a low attack. So you're not going to be able to fully block this attack. Let's see if it's even can be successful. So we increase the speed of Dark Shadow Talon to 5, so it's a 5 speed. Flying Thruster Kick has a block difficulty of 1, so that is going to be a 6 that we need to pass in order to block this attack. We pass a 3. We pass a 3. So that's not great. We're 3 short of blocking. However, we're not done yet because we can commit our foundations in order to add to our check. So I'll commit an Irrefutable Force of Nature for 4, another one for 5, and then I'll commit a Cool Student to get us up to 6. So now we have successfully partially blocked the attack and we can move forward with the damage step. Now the damage step says that this attack is going to do half damage plus rounded up. So the damage would be 5. It was partially blocked because it's a low attack and we blocked mid, which are adjacent to each other. So this attack is going to do 3 damage. So my Tokoyami, who starts at 20 life, is now down to 17 life. This attack is now over. These cards stay in the card pool and we continue. Now to mark that this card's attack was successful, I'm going to commit it just so I know that it was successful, and I'm going to continue my turn. The reason I want to know if the attack was successful is because the successful attacks will go to my momentum, if you remember, and the unsuccessful ones will go to the discard pile. Now I have 3 cards in my card pool, so it's going to be really difficult for me to pass a check. I definitely want to get some foundations though, because I have none. So I'm going to play Stronger in Darkness. It has a difficulty of 0, so with 0, 1, 2, 3, its difficulty will be 3, and I know I can pass that. I pass a 5. So at least I have a Stronger in Darkness in my card pool. Now there's no reason to play another card. I know the largest check that I can pass is a 5, and if I play a natural leader, then I'll have to pass a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I cannot pass a 6 because I don't have a 6 check in my deck. So I'll leave it in my hand and I'll end my turn. End your turn by passing priority and the combat step to your opponent, Your opponent can play any card they would like if they have one. If not, then we can just we leave the combat phase, go to the end phase. Remember, the end phase, we go from left to right. Dark Shadow Slash was completely blocked, so it goes to the discard pile. Summon Dark Shadow is an action, so it goes to the discard pile. Dark Shadow Talon was a partial block, so it goes to the momentum. You flip it face down and put it underneath your leader or character card. And then your foundations will come to the stage. Now, my turn's over. Let's kick it back over to my opponent. Now, it's still the end phase because I have cards in my card pool as well. Now, I blocked with these attacks, so they will just automatically go to the discard pile. It doesn't matter if they completely blocked or not. Now, that turn really wiped me out. I got most of my cards committed. I have no hand left, and it's really, I'm hurting right now. However, that's where my hero shines, in my opinion. You're gonna get all this stuff back. So I'll untap my cards to start. I'll ready my cards to start the turn, rather. Getting used to that terminology. And I will draw 7 cards because that is my hand size. Now, if I had a card in my hand, there is a review step at the start of every turn where, if you remember, I can discard 1 card and then before you draw to your hand size. I didn't have a card in my hand, so I didn't have a chance to discard. However, I can still proceed. Okay, so it's back on my turn. My opponent came at me, I blocked their attacks, and now it's my combat phase. I can use any enhance ability I want that's on a card, it's on a foundation in my staging area. So I'm gonna do that. I have this card, Irrefutable Force of Nature. It says I can enhance, it has an enhance ability that says commit, which means I can turn it sideways. And then I can seal 1 rival asset or foundation with an earth, fire, or water icon in its resource icon pool. So it just so happens that the 1 card my opponent played has a fire icon, so I can seal it. What that means is you basically treat it as if it has no text. It negates it. Think skill drain, or some kind of card that just negates all your opponent's skills. So it's my turn, and since I have 0 cards in my card pool, I'm very confident that whatever the first card I play is, I'll be able to pass a check. Remember, I can use my foundations to help me pass those checks. So I'm going to play Dark Shadow Talon. For difficulty, I'm going to mill 1 card to see if I pass. I check a 5. So I pass the difficulty, the attack is successful. We're gonna see if it's blocked or not. But first, we have to go through the enhance step. I wanna use my Tokoyami's, my character cards enhance. Remember, since it's my attack, I can use my enhance first. I'll use Tokoyami's effect. It says enhance, once per turn, discard the top 5 cards of your deck, add 1 Summon Dark Shadow from your discard pile to your hand. So I'll mill 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I can get this guy to my hand. So now I have Dark Shadow Talon on the board. I say, okay, my opponent, do you want to do anything? They really can't. You can't play foundations from your hand on your opponent's turn, and their foundation that's in play is sealed. So there's not really much they can do. So I say, okay, I'll continue my attack. I don't have anything else I really want to do to beef up that attack quite yet. Nothing's really in place, so I'm just gonna let it resolve. My opponent sees it, says, okay, I can block it. It's a high attack with a speed of 4 and a damage of 4. Even if they let it go, it'll only be 4 damage. This leader is still at full life, so it might be worth it just to let it go, especially if you want to keep these cards in your hand. However, this Summon Dark Shadow is a card that's best in the grave, so you might as well throw it out. You could also block with Natural Leader, which is a high block, so it would make sense if we just said, hey, let's block it at all. Let's block it, and turn this card into a card we're gonna draw to start our next turn anyway. So I'm gonna block with Natural Leader. So the speed of this attack is 4. The block difficulty of Natural Leader is 2. So I need to check a 6. I check a 3. I don't have enough foundations to commit as well to pass the check. So this is unsuccessful and the attack proceeds. Now, Natural Leader immediately goes to the discard pile and the attack goes through. I take the full 4 damage and my Tokoyami is now at 16 health. Now to continue the turn, I say, okay, I have one momentum coming at me. Let me play a Summon Dark Shadow, which is a very important card for Tokoyami. He says, okay, my next check gets +3. Awesome, awesome. When this card in my card pool, I get +1 speed and +1 damage. So all my attacks are even stronger now. I'm coming at my opponent. I don't care what they got. So I'm gonna play the hardest card to play in my hand. That is the this Dark Shadow Slash. It has difficulty of 4. The other cards have a max difficulty of 2. So I'm gonna play this. The difficulty becomes 4, 5, 6. So this difficulty is a 6. I pass a 3, but I didn't expect to pass a 6 anyway, nor do I need to. The Summon Dark Shadows effect gives me +3, so you add that to the check at the bottom. So really, I checked a 6. So this card is successful. Now, I have another attack coming at my opponent. This one is a mid 1 speed 4 damage. Now, first, we have to take into account Summon Dark Shadow gives me +1 speed, +1 damage. So this is actually a 2 mid speed with 5 damage behind it. Oh, sorry guys, I forgot when I used, come back here. When I used Summon Dark Shadow's effect, I had to commit my character, which he is now committed. And so he can use his Enhance. This card gets +1 damage, only playable while committed. So Dark Shadow Slash is now at 2 speed, 6 damage. Now pass to my opponent, see if they want to play anything. They do not, so it comes back to me. I say, okay, Dark Shadow Slash, I'll use this effect as well. If your character is committed, this card gets +2 damage. So it becomes a 2 speed, now 8 damage. Now I pass to my opponent again. Do you want to play an Enhance? They decline. I say, okay, my turn again. I'll use my other Enhance. This attack gets +1 speed for each ally in your card pool. Now Dark Shadow Slash is an ally, Summon Dark Shadow is an ally, and Dark Shadow Talon is an ally. So I've kind of been building up to this. They'll all turn. So now I get +1 speed for each ally, so that's +3 speed. So now this Dark Shadow Slash is a 5 speed and 8 damage attack. So I have a 5 speed, 8 damage attack coming at me in the mid range. So that's pretty not great. You definitely don't like to see that, especially as a Tokoyami with a very small health pool. So you kind of want to block it. You need to block it. However, can you? You always have to think about. So it has 5 speed and it's in the mid range. So if I block with Summon Dark Shadow, you say the 5 speed plus the 2 block damage modifier, I need to check a 7. Now I do have Stranger in Darkness, so I can add that to my check. However, the largest thing I know I can check is a 5 plus the 1 for the foundation is a 6. So I cannot block this. So knowing that, I'll just let the attack go through, and he attacks, and the attack hits Dark Shadow for 8 damage free, and my leader is down to 8 life. Now, I see that I have 3 cards in my card pool. 2 attacks were successful. I forgot to do this earlier. I'm just going to turn these sideways so that I know they're successful. And then I can play some more cards. I definitely want to have a Stronger in Darkness, so I'm going to play that. I know I can pass that check. That's a 5. And I have no reason not to kind of push my luck a little bit, have some foundations that can help me out. So I'm going to play Heroic Lineage. That's a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a 6 difficulty. I check a 3, so I'm going to tap a, whoops. I'm going to tap a nature. I'll tap a cool student, and that is 6. So there's really no reason to play another. That'll be a difficulty of 7, and I just don't have enough to pass that check, so I'll end my turn. So remember, when you end your turn, what you're doing is you're passing priority to your opponent. Say, do you want to play anything? They say no. Then you say, okay, we'll move from the combat phase to the end phase. So now I'll go from left to right. I'll say, okay, this was a successful attack, so that'll go under my leader. This was all, first of all, this Summon Dark Shadow goes to the grave. This was a successful attack. And then Stronger in Darkness comes down here, and so does Heroic Lineage. So just to show a little bit more of an example of what's going on, I'm going to do one more turn here. Now, Tokoyami has a hand size of 7, but first, the first thing you do in your turn is you always ready your cards. So I'm going to ready my character, ready my only in play card, which is already readied. Now I go to the review step. I'm going to review one card, which is Summon Dark Shadow. I'm going to discard it. Okay, and that is the review step. Okay, I just discard a card. Now I go to the draw step. I draw up to my hand size, so I draw 6 cards. So what my opponent has done beautifully that I have failed to do is play a lot of foundations. They have a lot of cards helping them out, helping them pass checks, helping them get their attacks off, and also beefing up their attacks, things like that. And I don't. I had one foundation alt all game, and it hasn't done much. I've also only had like 2 turns, and neither one of them have been anything to write home about. Actually, I think I have 1 turn. It just feels like 2 because my opponent has absolutely pelted me, and I'm down to 8 life. So what you want to do is you want to get your foundations on the board. I'm going to start with a Heroic Lineage. I'm going to check. That's a 5. That's successful. I'm going to then go for a Cool Student. That's going to be a 2, 3. That's a 3. That's a 5. Successful. I'm going to go for a Surefire. I know I can at least pass a 3. So I'm going to go for one of the 1s here. I'm going to try to pass. I'm going to try to go for Clever Distraction because I could use some defense. I pass a 3. That's 1, 2, 3. So that difficulty passes. The check passes rather. And then I'm going to go for a Stronger in Darkness, which is 0, 1, 2, 3. So I know I can pass that. So the next card I play I know is going to be a +4 difficulty, so there's no reason to play Dark Shadow Talon. I'm not attacking this turn, I'm trying to defend, so I'm going to play a Precise Control. So the Precise Control is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to pass a 5. I pass a 3, which is fine because I can commit my leader and commit this foundation. Even though it's sealed, I can still commit it and it still counts as 1. Hey guys, one thing I just wanted to mention really quickly. I said something wrong about the seal. The Stronger in Darkness foundation is no longer sealed at this point. When you seal a card, it lasts until the end of the turn. So my Stronger in Darkness lost its effects until that turn ended, and now it has its effects returned to it. Now, even if it is sealed, it is still a foundation. You can still commit it to pass checks. It can still do everything that a normal foundation can do, but it does not have its printed effect on it. Now, back to the video. So that is 3, 4, 5. I pass the check of 5. So now I have successfully played all these foundations. I'll pass priority to my opponent. They say I don't have anything to play. I say, okay, I'm ending my turn. I'm going to the end phase, and I can put all these in my stage. So you see now I kind of have something that can defend myself. I have this card that can negate, that can reduce the speed of my opponent's attacks. I have this card that can make my checks easier. I have this card that can reduce more speed of my opponent's attacks, and this card that can increase the damage of my attacks. So I didn't have all that last turn, and I was really paying for it because my opponent was attacking me and I couldn't do anything about it. So now we're gonna go into the ready phase. We're gonna ready our cards, and we can continue our turn. Now, looking at these cards, do I want both of these in my hand? It's kind of a question you have to ask yourself a lot. Self-Assured is a pretty good defensive card. However, I don't want two, so I'm gonna review this one in my review phase, and then I'll head to my ready phase. So I'll draw till I have 7 in my hand. Okay, so now I have 7 cards in my hand, and my opponent is at 8 life. So if all in all, I would really like the ability to just end them this turn. So I look around and I'll see if I can do that. So first thing I'm going to do is play Dark Shadow Talon. This is a 4/4. Played it a couple times already, so you guys already know that. I don't have my leader, my character card committed, so I cannot use his enhance. So this is just gonna have to stay at 4/4. I'm also not going to use his effect to add 1 action from my discard pile because I have a plan for that later. Now, I played this card. Now I pass the enhance priority to my opponent and see what they want to do. They don't have anything in the enhance step, so they say, okay, no problem, keep going to the block step. Now, your opponent has the opportunity to play a block to try to mitigate this damage. Now it is a 4 high, so it's a high attack with 4 speed and 4 damage. So I'm at 8 health, so that's not exactly something I want to look at. The problem is I have 2 cards in my hand. One of them is a low and one of them is a high, so I have to play this one. I'll play Natural Leader to block. The block modifier is 2, and plus the speed of the attack is 4. I need to check a 6. I check a 3, so now I have to tap 3 cards, 3 plus 3 in order to check that 6. I will tap Precise Control, I will tap Cool Student, and I will tap Stronger in Darkness. So now I pass it, and I am completely blocking this attack. Now, next up, we'll just play Tokoyami's effect that says discard the top 5 cards of your deck and add a Dark Shadow from your discard pile to your hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I get back a Summon Dark Shadow to my hand. Nice. And I'm just gonna play that first. So my next check gets +3, and everything is getting +1/+1. So now I'll play the Dark Shadow Slash and come at my opponent for 2/6 for 2 speed, mid, and 6 damage. And then also your character is I have to commit my character for my Summon Dark Shadow effect, because it says enhance your next check to play a card gets +3, and you have to commit your character. Also, now that I've played Dark Shadow Slash, I have to check 4. Actually, I have to check a 1 because I don't have to, because I got the +3. So I check a 5. The Dark Shadow Slash is successful. I get the speed boost and damage boost from Summon Dark Shadow, and this is now a 2 speed, 5 damage attack. I can use the effect of Tokoyami to boost it up to a 2 speed, 6 damage attack. Then I'll, at that point, after I use the enhance from the character, I ask my opponent, do you have anything you would like to do? My opponent might say, yes, I do actually. I have Heroic Lineage, Response, Commit, as in commit this card, like that. After your rival's attack receives a damage bonus, it gets -3 speed. So now this is no longer a 2 speed, 6 damage attack. It is now a -1 speed, 6 damage attack. Now, when you actually go to calculate if you're blocking, it's treated as 0 speed. Negative numbers always resolve to 0. However, as you're doing the math, they can go negative. Okay, so now I can use enhances or whatever I'd like to use. My speed is at 0, so I'd very much like to do something about that. After your attack receives a speed bonus, it gets +2 damage. So I'm not too keen on giving an attack with 0 speed more damage because it's too easy to block. However, if I use my big brain, I'll think about it. My opponent has 1 card in their hand. If that card can block a mid attack, then I'll get no damage through. However, if they don't have a mid block in their hand, if they have an upper block or a low block, then I can still get a lot of damage off anyway. So I'll use Heroic Lineage. The second response says commit. After your attack receives a speed bonus, it gets +2 damage. So I'll commit this one, and now my damage goes up to, let's see, 4, 5, 6. Right, it was a 6 because I haven't used Dark Shadow Slash's effects yet. Then I get another 2, so it's at 8. Ask my opponent for a response. They say I have nothing in the enhanced step. And then you say, okay, I will also use my other Heroic Lineage as well. I'll commit that, and I'll get another +2 damage. So now Dark Shadow Slash has 10 damage. Ask your opponent if they want to do anything. They say no. You say, okay, I will use Dark Shadow Slash's Enhance if your character is committed, which it is. This card gets +2 damage, so now I'm at 12 damage and -1 speed. And you say enhance, this attack gets +1 speed for each ally in your card pool. So I have 2 allies, it'll get 2 speed added, so I have a 1 speed 12 damage attack here. Then I also can use Stronger in Darkness. It says if your character is committed, this attack gets +1 damage. So I don't notice this card does not have a cost. It just says enhance if your character is committed, which is the condition. This attack gets +1. So I activate the enhance, and this goes to 13 damage. And I can use this again for the next attack if I had another one. Now I check around to see if there's any other cards that can do anything. I don't have anything, so I have to go forward with this 1 speed, 13 damage attack. Now, it doesn't really matter what the damage is. When your speed is that low, you're never confident that this is gonna get through. However, we go to my opponent, they look around, they say, ugh, all I have is this low block. I have to use it. So they block low with a 2 block modifier. Block difficulty rather. So it'll be 2 + 1, so they need to check a 3 to partially block this attack. They check a 5, and so now this is 13 damage. Cut it in half and round up, so half of 13 is 6.5, round up it's 7, so this is going to do 7 damage. That puts this Tokoyami down to 1 life. So he's almost dead. We can take him out if we had 1 more attack, but we just don't have another attack on the board, so you have to end your turn. So you can kind of see where this is going. I hope that this is a good illustration of how to play the game, what's important, what do you want to focus on. This was 2 Tokoyamis. I want to say one note about that. Tokoyami is a card that would like to play a lot of attacks and keep attacking you and hit you with sustained damage over time. There are other cards like All Might's Detroit Smash, which can attack you for 45 damage conservatively in 1 single attack. So there's a wide range of ways to play this game. Shigaraki has a crazy effect that burns you every time you take damage. There's a lot of different ways to play, and a lot of cool cards, and we're only 1 set in. So definitely, if you have any questions, please post them down below. I'd love to continue the conversation. Hit up my Discord link. I love answering questions in there. There's also the My Hero Academia official CCG Discord There's a ton of information and players there. They're playing on tabletop, they're playing with webcams. Everybody who wants to get into this game, I strongly advise it. This game is a lot of fun. I know it's a little bit different, and different is a little hard to learn sometimes. I totally get that, but it's worth it. I've been playing this game for a week and a half, and it seems absolutely awesome. Hopefully I'll see you on the tables. Hit that like button, get subscribed, ring the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.